Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Zenix Podcast. Today we have Raul Gomez, IT Director from Lennox School District. We are very happy to have Raul with us. Raul, would you please start by kind of introducing yourselves and your role and responsibility at Lennox School District, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kevin. My name is Raul Gomez. I work for the Lennox School District in California. I am the director of technology there. I'm on my seventh month now. We're in the middle of the South Bay in California, down the street from the LAX. So if you've ever flown there, you've driven right by us. When I joined the team, my first thought was going to be for to help out the students and really supply them with the tools and the ability to become positive citizens and productive citizens when they grow up. But as I started to get deeper into the position, I started to see that we now need to really protect our environment. So cybersecurity became a big component in the job, and we reached out to Zenix partners, and it's been moving forward from there. It's been a wonderful journey.
Okay, thanks for that introduction. So let's talk about a few things that I think are very important to superintendents, people in your position, other IT directors and schools. So let's start with talking about the core challenges. That is, as a K through 12 IT director, what are the biggest technology and cybersecurity challenges schools are facing today, and which ones keep you up at night?
Number one, I would say funding. And I think that's been a big problem in California schools for a very long time. But now that we're really focusing on technology, that seems to be um, a slow going focus onto it in the big picture, right? We have the old school pen and paper way of teaching, but as people like me try to make it move forward into the new cyberspace, funding for new technologies, funding for apps, funding for the protections of those devices, bandwidth, speeds, that's now become a major problem, or not a problem, something to focus on, something to work on in the school districts.
Yeah, I would say that based on what I have seen with ransomware attacks and in general the attacks on public school, there's a map that shows the schools in nationwide, and it's really dotted with all the attacks. It's literally covering the map of the U.S. I suppose that's also a big problem next to funding. How do you address ransomware attack and breaches that valuable student information that they're after?
Definitely, yeah, I have seen that map, and it's scary, right? It's just saying like you're next. Every day seems to be a gamble, and the bad guys out there are trying to find their way all the time, and it seems like you're on that list. It seems like you're there on list, and it's just about time that they'll get to you. The major part is protecting against those dangers. And yes, cybersecurity becomes such a big problem. It seems to be that you need to have someone who's cyber safe within your teams, and that seems to be a big hurdle that we're approaching, is the expertise in cybersecurity. It's as as school districts join that realm, it's hard to find the people who have the ability to, look for the malwares and then know what to do with them once they do.
Yeah, and actually that talks about resource constraint because um, to prioritize cybersecurity and uh, IT initiatives, I suppose, getting and finding staff and funding for that stuff is limited. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely, yes. I've been having conversations with my admins, and that seems to be the problem that they see. They see it as a problem, but it's something that you need to deal with, and you need to pay the people who have the ability to work for you and do these things.
Um, I want our audience to kind of learn from some of the things that you have done, and particularly maybe we talk about a real time, a real world problem that you've solved. Can you share with us an example of an IT security or cybersecurity incident that a challenge that district faced, and you were ultimately were able to solve it. And how did you solve it?
I guess I could start small from within. We've got kids that are extremely smart and they like to really push the limit. So they like to cause a little mayhem within the walls, and identifying those issues on our network seems to be the first thing that one needs to do. I like to encourage, right, a little mischief, but as long as it's under control and they know what they're doing, and then they know that their harm, in 10, 15 years, those are the new techs. Those are the new engineers that are coming into the world. So, it's a good thing that they are learning these skills, but, when they're doing it for nefarious reasons, that's really hard. Locating those bugs, locating those uh, weird anomalies on your network is the first thing, and then knowing what to do with it after that. It would have been small like that. Luckily, we have not been a victim or any attack. Hopefully, we're invisible to them right now. But something that we did learn is that it is out there and it is happening, even though if you don't see it. Working with Xenix and checking out all their tools and the platform, you really start to see in real time that efforts are being made to get into your network all the time.
Yeah. Um, so let's chat about ransomware and incident preparedness. Uh, how prepared do you believe the most school districts are for a ransomware major cyber attack? And what gaps do you commonly see across different school districts?
Well, from the evidence of the map, we're slowly getting into that, right? If some people are falling, some school districts are falling victim to it, that means that they're not protected at all or not enough. Um, and as a school district, you don't know who to go to. You don't know who's the leader in this industry until you actually reach out and find them. We luckily were able to find Xenix, and they've helped us out tremendously. Once you find a good partner you can trust in and that knows what they're doing, you can really hand it off to them to really take care of your network and your assets. But what I really love about Xenix is that you do a lot of checking in with us. So it's not just we hand it off to you. You're actually in with us. You're a partner, and it's felt really safe. And I know that if anything were to happen, you would be able to help us out right away, so that we don't become a victim to cybersecurity and ransomware.
Yeah. Um, Beyond technology, what people or process challenges make securing a school environment especially difficult? That's an interesting question because I've had a lot of experience, with schools. Our team has obviously has been working with many schools, and I specifically asked that question because schools are different than commercial sector. Their needs are different. Their environments are different, and I think there's a lot of insight that you could share about these particular things, people and process challenges in school districts.
I would say the age groups, right? We run the gamut from 5-year-olds to our staff who can be up in their 50s, 60s, and the skill level is a huge spectrum between that. And as the bad guys are getting a lot better, and with social engineering and phishing, I think that's that main vector of attack that they're really getting at us. You can send an email to a student. If they were able to get to, they click on that, get in. You send it to a secretary or a superintendent. They click on that, and now they're in, and they've got all the resources, and they could ransom us. So I think it's that. Also, I think a money making company, right, versus a school district who just spends money, you are able to put resources into it like that and focus on the protection and have the resources to deal with that, whether you are paying the ransom or not, or you're going to deal with it in another way. I think money making companies have more options because they have more money. and districts are more about protecting it. So it's a strange thing to have to spend money to protect the money.
Yeah, one of the things that I have learned is that schools have specialized applications really dedicated to schools, student management systems or billing systems or using an external billing service and so on and so forth that are not typical in a commercial environment. And that might be a challenge because not all those applications or the way schools use third party are supported very easily in a cybersecurity defense posture, right? And I've learned that there's a lot of challenges with that. And do you use any of those applications, and how do you think it impacts the way schools should protect themselves when it comes to those applications and the way that they're processing information and students and the parents and the teachers and the billing and so on?
Yes, you're right. Using the apps that we use, other school districts use them as well. It kind of feels like you're a big honey pot, right? Just waiting for someone to come in and then they can spread around everywhere. It really, the way we take it is we try to take responsibility of what we can control. We control our data. And after that, the next hop is with our partners, whether that be the cybersecurity company or the platform runners. We try to make sure that our data is protected, and make sure that we know what stages they're in, what protocols they follow, and what we can do to not give out too much information. Because you never know, it can happen anytime. So when it comes to then mitigation of that disaster, you need to know what you let go so that you know what's out there possibly.
Yeah, and that brings up a very good question, or I should say, comment that backup and disaster recovery, the proper backup and disaster recovery, seems to be a very key measure.
Yes, it is like that last that shield in any situation that you can come back and at least revert back to where you were at a certain point. That seems to be yes the that golden ticket.
And one of the comments that I've been sharing with some of our experts in our podcast is that you have to have malware-free backup and restore, and disaster recovery if time is of essence. So that's a difference between having a backup. For example, we've talked about when studies show that a hacker could be in the environment, a threat cell could be in the environment for 6 months before it's detected or before they take action. That means the backups could be already compromised, right? So having a malware-free backup is critical for a ransomware defense and has to be part of everyday process. Would you say that's a key component?
Certainly, yes. It's like you're building that fort, right? You're building those layers. It's like an onion, so you want to make sure that that treasure trove in the center is protected. And if they were to get into one of the layer, at least you got the next one, and then the next one. And if they do, they've got you 100%. Then that recovery, it's that reset button. It's that extra life, right? That gets us back in. And hopefully you can do it in a good enough time where you're not losing too much learning time, not losing too much time on recovering.
Uh, so, if let's talk about long-term vision strategy, right? Um, what is your long-term strategy or vision for K through 12, and how are you laying the groundwork to accomplish that? There's many layers, of course. So, what are your thoughts around strategic versus tactical? Backup is tactical, but there's a strategic view that you would like to share with us.
I believe it comes down to the education of the users, of the people. Um, that's the final vector. You can have a tight security protocol that knows what it's doing, knows what not to let in, knows to block this. But then when a person comes in and they just click that link and then let it all in, I think that's it. So teaching the people to be more aware of, say, phishing, being more aware of bad websites, being more aware of, don't just click anything. A QR code can be that attack vector, so think first. It really has to deal with education in this new cyber world.
And how difficult, that's an excellent observation, but how difficult is it? After all, you've got students and staff, educators need to focus on education. So isn't that a bit of a challenge? You're thinking about, hey, I got to do this and I got to educate them, I got to inform them, they got to be aware, but they're focused on what they do best, which is educating our kids. So is that a challenge or a conflict there?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, and in this example, I would say it's the reverse, where the students are teaching the adults how to live in this world, right? They're called natives, right? Technology natives. They know what's good. They know what's bad. They know that that's not good. They know, the phishing tricks. They know the deep fakes, right? They're trying to be able to identify that automatically. I think they're the easy part. It's the adults. It's us who are set in our ways, who don't really understand the reasoning behind it, and so it just turns into just another thing to do. But they don't know how important it is, right? They don't know that one person's action can affect everybody. And I always try to put that into perspective. We're letting them know we're all protecting each other here. Whether it comes with inputting data into a wrong place, don't do that because you wouldn't like it done to you, and you don't know what's going to happen after that. And um, being tight on your security of your own device protects the next person, because an infection will just keep hopping and hopping. So it's about stopping it at the first hop.
So I want to bring some emphasis of internal versus a partner. You mentioned that a couple of times. What functions and responsibilities do you think is best kept inside, and what responsibilities do you think it's best to uh, demand request from a cybersecurity partner?
I would say the bigger picture aspect should go to the partners who are more able to take care of it. With a small team of three here in the district, their days are already full with taking care of daily operations. So then having to pull them away to do investigation or identification, would really slows down the process of the entire team. So relying on our partners who have the more resource, the more expertise, the better tools, and the know-how to use that. That's where I need that extra help.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have seen it, I've experienced it. Most IT resources in any school, doesn't matter which school it is, are very thin and they're overworked. They work really hard. They're great people, but there's only 24 hours in a day. So it basically becomes, if you have so many thousands of students or hundreds of students and you have to manage their devices, whether it's Chromebooks or Macs or Windows, and then servers and the applications and so on, maintaining the environment by itself is a full-time job. So we've seen the pressure that cybersecurity brings to the internal IT team. So when you say that, I think about all these conversations that I've had and how that impacts the IT departments. And you kind of mentioned that you're a team of three, but they've got so much to do, and you can't take on more, particularly if you're not a subject matter expert. So, what is your expectation of a cybersecurity partner in the sense of support, vision, strategy, uh, the effectiveness of a security operations center that could be partnering with you? And what do you see is the best approach, and how does that translate into a relationship with your cybersecurity partners security operations center?
I really like they use the word relationship, because that's what it is. It turns into a relationship. Um, a good security partner will know your network just as good as you are do or better, right? They know the little corners, they know the intricacies that we just don't have time to look at daily. Um, I kind of to use like a basketball analogy, five starters, but then you have that one sixth person. They call him the sixth man who can just come in at any point in the game and provide leadership, provide expertise, provide knowledge, even though they didn't start the game. That's why I feel the cybersecurity partner is. They come in and then they already know from the exact second you explain what's going on and they know what to do. You don't have to explain, you don't have to show them around. They already know where they're at, and that's how I see it. That extra help, right? That comes in, and earlier you mentioned 24/7. That's the other part too. It's we can only be here for 8 hours. Then the network's sitting there, so it's like we need that extra help from a partner to make sure that they're not watching while we're out.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So, with that, having said that, how do you communicate cybersecurity risks to a superintendent, school board, or technical leadership so that they understand, the challenges? It's easy to say, "Hey, there's risk." It's very different to actually try to articulate it in a way that people in the decision making process can understand the risk and therefore what the solutions are.
Yes, if you're not immersed in the world of technology, you don't really understand, right? You hear about it, but to you, they're just rumors or they're just stories. But once you're really into it, and you look at the mapping, that's a neighbor. That just happened down the street or down the way. You know that the danger is real. I did have the conversation where we were discussing being protected, and the retort was, "Well, we've been okay so far. Why do we need this? Why do we need this now?" And it's like, no, you need to explain that we've been lucky. We've been rolling those dice every day and we've been rolling good, but one of these days we're not. It's going to be our turn. So you can't just let yourself out in the open like that. You really do need to explain that part where we need to spend a little bit of money to protect the big money, right? A small monthly or yearly fee to be protected is worth paying millions, if not billions of dollars in ransom, and then you're just halted to nothing, right?
Yeah, there has been several publicly, um, you know, stated ransomware attacks that took over $10 million to recover from, and that's what you're saying, and I totally believe that it has to be proactive. We have to talk to the decision makers to tell them, look, it's not that it's not going to happen. It's just a matter of time because the bad guys don't stop, and you
No,
can't.
they don't stop.
Yeah, and it's 24/7, and you have to have the tools to protect the organizations or their reputation, the cost of recovery, the downtime, the dissatisfaction of the student parents, not being able to go to school, for example. All of those are pretty severe consequences of not being protected.
Absolutely. And a lot of times we don't hear that it happened, whether it's the internal admin decision to not say that it happened, or it's the lawyers or the FBI, whoever's working with you. So a lot of times we don't know it's happening. We don't know how prevalent it is. And we can't just share it across and go, hey guys, I was attacked. Be careful, you're next.
Yeah, but that map says it all, right?
But then
That
the map says it, yeah.
infamous map, yeah, that infamous. And what advice? I think we kind of talked about this, but I would like you to kind of take a minute or two to talk about this. What advice would you give other K through 12 IT directors who are feeling overwhelmed by cybersecurity demands?
Really have a conversation with your admins. Really make them understand that it's needed. Is just as important as any other insurance, as just important as any other security. We wouldn't say, "Hey, we don't need fire alarms because we haven't had a fire." So you need to draw analogies that they understand. Another thing was for yourself when you before you have this conversation is really learn what's out there and what's going on. What what kind of dangers there are so that you can explain it to them. Really have your evidence with you, that map if you have access to it. Or, a lot of times we get the news articles that say this school, was ransom for this much. And really show them that it's not, it is when. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's they're looking and there might be a list and you might be on it.
Well, I think we've reached our time for this podcast, and Raul, I wanted to thank you for really investing your time and talking about this very important topic for K through 12 and in general educational institutions. We are very much in favor of supporting our educators and educational institutions. After all, it's our kids that need to grow and not have to be waiting for something else to be corrected before they go back to school. So thank you very much for everything that you shared with us. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next later on.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
You too. Thank you.